Geraldine!
Tonight, the ongoing Russia investigation has reached President Trump's innermost circle. Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, says that he is cooperating with the special counsel's probe into possible cooperation between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. Flynn pled guilty to repeatedly lying to the FBI, including making false statements about his December 2016 conversations with Russia's then ambassador to the U.S., Sergei Kislyak. According to the statement of offense, Flynn lied when he told the FBI he did not discuss sanctions with Kislyak. On the same day that President Obama expelled Russian diplomats from the U.S. and boosted sanctions on Moscow in retaliation for Russia's meddling in the presidential election. Flynn also sought Russia's help during the transition to block a UN Security Council vote that the Obama administration was abstaining on. The White House said late Friday morning, quote, "Nothing about the guilty plea or the charge implicates anyone other than Mr. Flynn." However, court documents make clear that Flynn was not acting alone. According to prosecutors, Flynn communicated with senior members of the president's transition team about the conversations, and in at least one instance was directed by transition officials to reach out to Russia.
You're listening to The Devil's Advocate, where we talk about news and current events. I'm your host, Brandon Condict.
And I'm also your host, Mitchell Hernandez. Our goal at The Devil's Advocate is to provoke thought by introducing viewpoints and information that isn't readily available in the mainstream media.
It's in truth a conversation where an independent liberal, like myself,
And an independent conservative like myself can share different viewpoints without the typical disdain for one another we see all too often in politics. So with that, let's get started.
Former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. Here's what's on his plea deal. Flynn was charged with knowingly making false statements to the FBI about his conversations with Sergei Kislyak, who was the Russian ambassador to the U.S. at that time. As part of the plea deal, Flynn agrees to keep cooperating with law enforcement. The deal requires Flynn to turn over any evidence of crimes that he's aware of. He also has to submit a complete account of his financial assets as well as his clients' assets. Flynn has to take part in interviews with law enforcement agents and government attorneys. He waives his right to counsel during the interviews unless it's requested in writing to the special counsel's office. Flynn also has to testify before relevant grand juries and at any relevant trials or court proceedings. If Flynn violates the provisions, his sentencing could be delayed. Flynn's charge carries a sentence of up to 5 years in prison.
And we are back.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you say delicious right before we went live?
Because I took a drink of a beer.
I was like, are you coming on to me, Mitch? That's interesting. Mitch and I are not in the same, we're not in the same room again today, so I can't see him. So when he's whispering naughty nothings into my ear,
You have no idea what I'm doing.
I don't know why you're talking like that either. All right, so we are back with episode 36 now. And before we get started, I am going to hopefully not die in this episode. I'll
keep going if you do.
Sick.
Don't worry about it.
Right, I'm sure you will. But I did not feel well last night. Woke up today, felt fine, but as the day has gone on, like I got kind of a sinusy headache, and I'm coughing, and that's what I'm worried about on this obvious medium. I just had to work obvious in there. Like it's a thing. It's a TDAP thing. If you've been listening, you know.
Right.
So
eventually shirts that just say obviously will be sold at some point.
Right. Obviously. So and there it is. Hopefully not too much of that. So we got a huge week. We got a lot of stories, and
it was a good amount.
Yeah, we'll try to break it up into probably just a couple segments. I think that we try to speed through some of them, but the obvious story, obviously, is okay. I had to knock it off now. The big one is Mike Flynn.
Yeah.
Mike Flynn pled guilty. Was it last Friday that all went down?
I can't remember the exact date, but Mueller has broken Michael Flynn, broken him into submission, had him walking into that courthouse like a cold dog, fucking kicked him in the groin, and he pled guilty. I mean,
Mitch is only making light of this. Is making light of this story because he sees the walls closing in.
I surely don't, but no, we all saw.
You will though by the end of this segment.
We all saw this one coming. I mean, even from way back in the day when we were talking about it. I remember me and you just going, this guy looks guilty. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
but this guy looks like it.
Definitely. Yeah. There's a few people that look like they were probably up to no good. But
now the thing to be pointed out here is that he's only pled guilty to lying to the FBI.
Because the other thing to point out, which we'll get into in this article, is that the only reason that he only has one charge is because he made a plea deal.
Right.
He was going to be charged with a lot more. He is a flipped witness now.
Right.
So,
which you saw Breaking Bad, that shit don't end well.
Which I didn't, so
get on that.
I'm assuming that this is not going to end well. So let's get into this. This article is from the New York Times. I even paused for you to do it, and you didn't. So, all right.
Nope.
You wanted to, though. You thought it. We all thought it.
I thought it. We'll hear the content first, and then we'll see.
This is called Michael Flynn pleads guilty to lying to the FBI and will cooperate with Russia inquiry. I don't know if that's the title of the article. It's probably not. That's a stupid title for an article. They just take one sentence and they make it big.
You got to add Russia into it. Russia.
Right. So I'm surprised that we've made it. Where are we? 4 minutes even now into the show? Well, no,
Russia.
not with the sound bites. Damn it. And you haven't said DNC once.
No.
Like, I'm proud.
I'm waiting.
I'm proud of
saving
you.
it up.
So here are the events that led to Michael Flynn's guilty plea by D. Shear and Adam Goldman, December 1st of this year, obviously. I just had to. President Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, pleaded guilty on Friday to lying to the FBI about conversations with Russian ambassador last December, becoming the first senior White House official to cut a cooperation deal in the special counsel's wide-ranging inquiry to election interference. Mr. Flynn's discussions with Sergei Kislyak, the Russian ambassador, were part of a coordinated effort by Mr. Trump's aides to create foreign policy before they were in power, documents released as part of Michael Flynn's plea agreement show. Their efforts undermined the existing policy of President Barack Obama and flouted a warning from a senior Obama administration official to stop meddling in foreign affairs before the inauguration. The documents do not disclose what Mr. Trump knew about Mr. Flynn's discussions, but in at least one instance, prosecutors say Mr. Flynn was directed by a very senior member, in quotes, of the presidential transition team to discuss a United Nations resolution.
Now, other sources have claimed that was President
Jared Kushner.
Well, no, I've heard other sources say it was President President Trump that was the senior advisor that told him to do that. That's what.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I've heard that too. I know Kushner is going to come in here somewhere, but yeah, you're right. That I did hear that. Mr. Trump's lawyers believe that unnamed aide was Mr. Trump's son-in-law and close advisor Jared Kushner. That's why I heard it, according to a lawyer briefed on the matter. Although that's Donald Trump's lawyer saying that. So, the transition team was led by Vice President Mike Pence. Its top members included Mr. Kushner, Reince Priebus, Mr. Trump's first chief of staff, and K.T. McFarlane, who was Mr. Flynn's deputy and was later appointed to be ambassador to Singapore. Mr. Flynn spoke to Ms. McFarlane about another of his conversations with Ms. Kislyak, according to the lawyer. And then there is a copy. I'm just kind of skimming through this real quick of the actual release. It's the United States versus Michael Flynn statement of the offense. Pursuant to Federal Rule Criminal Procedure 11, the United States of America and the defendant Michael Flynn stipulate and agree the following facts are true. And basically goes on to plead guilty of lying to the FBI about the aforementioned topics. Mr. Flynn's decision to plead guilty to lying to investigators about those conversations marked a significant new phase in the investigation of the special counsel Robert Mueller, and a politically treacherous development for the president and his closest aides, whose activities in the West Wing are being scrutinized by FBI agents, lawmakers, federal prosecutors, and the media. The admissions by Mr. Flynn... Yeah, right. Thank you, Mr. #obvious. The admissions by Mr. Flynn have the potential to reshape the public's understanding of what the president's associates said and did in the days after Mr. Trump's unexpected election victory. They suggest that the prosecutors now have cooperative source of information from inside the Oval Office during the administration's chaotic first weeks. Mr. Flynn's plea deal could deeply undercut the claims made in January by Mr. Trump and his aides that they were misled by Mr. Flynn about his discussion with Russians regarding sanctions imposed on Moscow by the Obama administration over the election interference. In fact, the documents say multiple members of the team coordinated the specifics of Mr. Flynn's outreach to Russia and knew that the conversations were about sanctions. Mr. Flynn's agreement also provided new context for Mr. Trump's efforts to get FBI officials to back off of their investigation with Mr. Flynn. James Comey, the former FBI director, has said that the president asked him to shut down the investigation one day after Mr. Flynn was fired in February. "I hope you can let this go," the president said, according to congressional testimony by Mr. Comey. The information provided by Mr. Flynn, who promised to provide prosecutors with information on any and all matters, in quotes, suggests one possible motivation for the president's efforts to shut down the Flynn investigation, to avoid revealing the deep involvement of his top transition officials in Mr. Flynn's discussions with Mr. Kislyak. In May, the president fired Mr. Comey as well and said the Russia investigation was on his mind at the time. Mr. Mueller is investigating whether Mr. Trump's firings of Mr. Comey or Michael Flynn amount to obstruction of justice. Mr. Trump made no public comments on Friday, though Mr. Flynn's plea provided an awkward backdrop for a closed-door holiday reception from members of the press corps at the White House. Ty Cobb, the president's lawyer dealing with the Russia inquiry, played down the potential impact of Mr. Flynn's deal, saying that Mr. Flynn served only briefly in the administration and had pleaded guilty to not just a single count of lying to just a single count of lying to the FBI. Nothing about the guilty plea or the charge implicates anyone other than Michael Flynn. I have an issue with that statement. We'll get into it in a few minutes.
Because it has to be Trump.
But while that's not where I'm at with it, but we'll get into it. Let me get through this real quick.
I'm just saying, what about her emails?
I know Frank was out there thinking it somewhere. So, but while the court documents released on Friday show no direct evidence of collusion with Russia, fake news, god damn it. Damn New York Times, man. Always with their colluding asses.
We'll get you.
The special counsel's filings so far paint a damning portrait of Mr. Trump's associates. His former campaign chairman, 2 other campaign aides, and his former national security advisor have now all been charged with felonies. In a statement, Mr. Flynn denied false accusations of treason, but said that he had agreed to cooperate with prosecutors who are examining whether Mr. Trump's campaign colluded with Russians during the election and whether anyone sought to cover it up. I recognize that the actions I acknowledged in court today were wrong, and through my faith in God, I'm working to set things right, Mr. Flynn said. My guilty plea and agreement to cooperate with the special counsel's office reflect a decision that I made in the best interests of my family and of our country.
In other words, he got broke, and
I accept full responsibility for my actions. In other words, maybe some people put country before party. I know it's not the 38% of Trump voters out there, but
I'm not going to accept that you're making that argument that Flynn grew a conscience, and that's the reason why he's coming forward.
No, probably not. Absolutely.
I know, absolutely not, because he even came out.
Yeah.
He said that he was like, I felt abandoned by the Trump campaign, and in the recent days, I have mounting bills trying to fight this thing, and he's like, I had to mortgage my house and put it up for sale just to cover all of these court costs. He was like, I'm not going to fight anymore.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is absolutely true. And you got to think that, like, I see, and that's why I just can't imagine that, like, Manafort's not going through the same thing.
Manafort's
and
rich
Papadopoulos
as
isn't
fuck, though. He's not.
I know that.
Yeah, Flynn's not
Papadopoulos
rich.
isn't.
Yeah, and Flynn's not rich either. I mean, he's got money, as in, like, I'm connected to the high people, the president and other people,
right?
Money, but not like Manafort. Like, I'm embezzling and fucking like,
I've been embezzling
millions
for
of dollars,
decades,
for decade
right.
plus. So another part to this story that I want to get into before we kind of get into all of our assessments of it.
I do have a little bit more of this article to go, but go ahead.
Well, I did want to kind of go into the Brian Ross aspect of it, because that was the kind of the big thing where they broke the news there at ABC News. And then on Saturday, they had suspended Brian Ross. He was the one who initially did the story. So this is going to...
Okay, well, before that, let me finish the details of the story, and then we'll go into the way it was covered, because I think we're going to probably agree on a decent portion of that.
Right.
So Friday's 45-minute hearing in federal court in Washington was a humiliating moment for Mr. Flynn. That seems a little biased.
Bummer.
I mean, it was, but, you don't have to write it.
An awkward moment
YT.
when you lie to the FBI and they catch you. Bummer.
Right.
Egg on my
let's
face?
see. All right. So, hold on. They go on to, like, describe what he was wearing, and I really don't care about that.
Some of us are fashionistas. Okay, we do care. Dang.
What the hell is happening here? Dressed in a crisp gray suit, Mr. Flynn arrived at the courtroom with his wife holding hands. They occasionally traded glances, and her legs trembled before prosecutors laid out the case that Mr. Flynn had repeatedly lied to investigators. I know, like, when I came across the sentence, her legs trembled, I was like, wait a minute, I need to go back. I don't know what's happening here.
Somebody moonlights as a fucking romance
novelist. I feel like we just ended up we started on Michael Flynn. Somehow we ended up in the middle of a Roy Moore story. I don't know what happened. Mr. Flynn's plea agreement requires his full cooperation. He agreed to take a polygraph, and if asked to participate in covert law enforcement, and if asked, he would participate in covert law enforcement activities. Such undercover activities are unlikely, however, since the plea agreement was filed publicly.
Yeah, plus if Flynn starts coming up to you, hey, remember that time we fucked over the government? I'd be like, take a fucking hike, dude. Get the hell out of here.
Right, no shit.
Wearing a wire, get the fuck out of here.
So they go on to say, so I'm skipping a paragraph where they talk about they basically go on to say, like, he hurt his credibility, so I don't need to go into that. You can make that decision for yourself as the audience.
Right.
But according to prosecutors, on December 22nd, Mr. Flynn discussed with Kislyak an upcoming United Nations Security Council vote on whether to condemn Israel's building of settlements. At the time, the Obama administration was preparing to allow the Security Council vote on the matter. Mr. Mueller's investigators have learned through witnesses and documents that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel asked the Trump transition team to lobby other countries to help Israel, according to two people briefed on the inquiry. The investigators have learned that Mr. Flynn and Mr. Kushner, that's where he comes into the story, took the lead in those efforts. Mr. Mueller's team has emails that show Mr. Flynn saying that he would work to kill the vote. The people briefed on the matter said. Mr. Flynn also spoke with Kislyak on December 29th, according to court documents, about the sanctions against Russia announced that day. He had consulted with Ms. McFarlane about the matter. She was with other members of the team at Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Florida, the court documents revealed, to discuss in quotes, what, if anything, to communicate to the Russian ambassador about U.S. sanctions. Mr. Flynn asked Mr. Kislyak that Moscow refrain from escalating the situation, and Mr. Kislyak said Russia had chosen, in quotes here, had chosen to moderate its response. And the documents, that's what the documents revealed. The following day, President Putin of Russia said Moscow would not retaliate against the United States for those sanctions. American intelligence agencies had grown so concerned about Mr. Flynn's communications with Kislyak and false accounts that he provided to Mr. Pence that he was interviewed by FBI agents at the White House 4 days after the president was sworn into office. Sally Yates, the acting attorney general, warned the White House that its national security advisor might be compromised by Russians. Even before Trump said that he would appoint Flynn to the post, questions swirled around his connections with Russia and Putin. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist of the story. So, Mr. Flynn's son, Michael Flynn Jr., was intimately involved with his father's undisclosed lobbying efforts of Russia, or the Russian government, whatever. The son had not been charged with a crime, and it is not clear whether possible legal exposure put extra pressure on his father to plead guilty. So...
yeah, because I know that was originally the thought was that they're going to go after the sons, so Flynn's son and Donald Trump Jr., and try to pressure these guys.
And then there's a correction on this article at the bottom. December 1st, 2017, an earlier version of this article reported prematurely that Michael Flynn, the former national security advisor to President Trump, had pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. He pleaded guilty on Friday morning, but had not entered the plea when the article was first published.
But they were
fake
right.
News,
so.
always being fake.
First to do it. Speaking of fake news, so I'll get in here to this last part of the story here, which was this is coming from NBC. It says, ABC News reporter Brian Ross suspended for serious error in Flynn reporting. This is by Phil McCausland. I'm just going to read the very first couple paragraphs here, and we'll get into this. It says, ABC News announced on Saturday that it had suspended Chief Investigative Correspondent Brian Ross for a serious error in his reporting about former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's guilty plea for lying to the FBI. The longtime television news correspondent was suspended for 4 weeks without pay after Ross reported on air Friday that President Donald Trump directed Flynn to make contact with the Russian government during the 2016 presidential campaign. ABC News later issued a clarification that stated Trump had told Flynn to speak to Russia after the former real estate mogul won the election. We deeply regret and apologize for the serious error that we made yesterday. ABC News sent out in a statement on Saturday. The reporting conveyed by Brian Ross during the special report had not been fully vetted through our editorial standard process. As a result to our continued reporting over the next several hours, ultimately, we determined the information was wrong, and we corrected the mistake on air and online. Of that, Brian Ross went to Twitter to say, "My job is to hold people accountable, and that's why I agree with being held accountable myself." So I was glad that he took accountability for it, because...
Dude, it sounds to me like a bunch of fake news, liberal media outlets not being held accountable, only out to witch hunt.
That's
what
right.
it sounds like.
It's a pretty big error to me, and we talked about this because...
and then he was held accountable after they corrected it in the same day. Fake news.
Yeah, here's the problem with that, though, because me and you were texting back and forth when this happened, and I can't remember, like, you were doing your little jig like all the other liberals out there that were like, "Oh, Mueller is bringing me a Christmas
all the
present."
other liberals. Make sure that we keep count of those on the show from now on, because Mitch likes to generalize people.
That's fine. I'm just saying, your reactions were very similar.
We'll talk about like Paul Manafort or Donald Trump or one Republican, and you're like, well, that means all liberals think this way. Like, okay, right. Mitch, all right.
So, but the news came out, and it was saying that Flynn, I think the headline that was derived from this ABC News report because they broke the story. The big headline that was derived from it was Michael Flynn flips on Donald Trump. Michael Flynn prepared to testify against Donald Trump. And then that was expanded to...
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
Yeah, and that was expanded to Michael Flynn is going to report that candidate Trump told him to contact Russia. And then only later was it clarified that it was A, President-elect Trump, and B, he was told to contact Russia on how to fight ISIS in Syria. Like, that was the direct order that he had given him, which, of course, is very standard when it comes to, incoming
right. But what we just heard and what we just talked about and what we just read is that a very senior official, in quotes, which you just alluded to being
Donald Trump.
Well,
again, that's the wording, though.
Donald
That's
Trump.
The thing behind
Right.
it. They're saying, he
to
told him to talk to
turn
Russia.
this into he also talked to him about ISIS.
But that's what Flynn
that's not
said
what the
they
story
talked to.
just was.
Yeah, I understand that the story that didn't go into all of the details. That is the detail. The detail later is Michael Flynn said that that's what he's talking about. Whenever they're saying that senior advisor, they're talking about Trump and they're talking about him being directed to contact Russia to fight ISIS in Syria. It's really...
When did Flynn say that?
He said that they just didn't choose to put it in there, but that's during his, his statements whenever he was, what was it, Friday?
Yeah, it was. I think it was Friday morning.
Friday morning he came in there and said all that. They also didn't choose to say all of his remarks where he goes on to say, I'm tired of being called a traitor. I've got nothing to hide. I don't know of any criminality that happened. I admit that I was wrong in being untruthful to the FBI. So, again, this is a big deal. I don't want to pretend like it's not a big deal, because it is. However, I feel like the wording and the reporting around this, once again, have just been manufactured to give blue balls to the people who really want to see...
Well, I agree that Brian Ross made a huge error, and I think that it's good that he accepted responsibility and he has been held accountable to it. I don't think that biased news is the same as fake news. I agree with you that when we're reading an article and we're talking about her legs trembling instead of more remarks that he made, that I wish is not, I would rather have more statements.
That's called bullshit reporting. I need to make this so long, so I'm just going to type words.
Right. It was unbelievably long. I gotta start picking shorter articles. But I don't know. I think there's an obvious difference between fake news, which is bullshit news, which is not real news, and biased news. And while, yes, I agree with you that the majority of the media is liberal and biased that way, that doesn't mean that what they're reporting is wrong. And
here's the problem with Brian Ross. What he reporting was wrong. Now, the difference there is that while that was fake news, he called himself out and made the effort to correct the story, which a lot of the times...
And he was the only one who reported it wrong.
A lot of the time... Well, no, because all the other headlines were derived off of that. They ran with it. And that's what they started telling everyone is
then why was he the only one? I guess because he broke the story?
He broke the story, yeah, and then he corrected it. But a lot of BuzzFeed, a lot of those articles and other places that said, nope, Flynn is going to testify that Donald Trump said, or candidate Trump said, he colluded with the Russians. He's going to testify for it. They didn't fix their articles. So that's fake news.
Okay, and that's all fine. And that's the media being the media, whatever.
It is. And then both sides do it. We know it, but...
Right. So let's talk about the substance here, because I have a huge issue going back to what Donald Trump's lawyer said is that this implicates nobody but Michael Flynn. It implicates everybody. It implicates fucking literally everybody. Manafort, Priebus, Kellyanne Conway, Trump Jr., Kushner, Pence, all of these people were at Trump Tower / Mar-a-Lago with the president, while Michael Flynn was calling on December 29th and made 6 phone calls between the Russians and again,
according to them, it was about ISIS. So
according to them, but they're proven liars. That's my point.
They're proven
liars.
everyone
they're
in
not,
there is...
They're not straight shooters. They're very far from that.
Yeah.
They're not telling us what's happening. So if there is nothing there, then they're playing a really shitty optic game. That's what I'm telling you.
Well, again, it doesn't help whenever the media is going out and just giving the wrong headlines.
You can blame the media all you want. Donald Trump created this, and
that's
Donald
the
Trump's
optics,
team created
isn't it?
this.
You know, like I said,
What?
that's the optics, right? You're saying that, oh, it looks terrible. Well, it's the media that's making it look terrible. Because, again, in most of these articles, they don't go on to show all of Michael Flynn's full comments where he says, there has been no wrongdoing. I know nothing of any criminality. I will testify in full. I will help so that I don't have to fucking pay these expenses. But this is what this was on. They don't say that. They just say he's flipping on him. He's going to do it. And so then everyone freaks out and goes, oh, it's coming. The smoke is leading to fire.
Right. I get that. I have a feeling there's more than that. I don't think. Look, the fact of the matter is, he doesn't get like what was the amount of charges initially that was brought to him?
Maybe
like
four. Maybe 4 charges.
Was it?
I thought so.
I thought it was like 9.
No,
Like,
I don't think it was that much. And I don't even know what they were. I think it was like lying to the FBI, lying to Congress. They all had to do with that, like failing to fill out forms, which is what they got Manafort on, and something else. I feel like it was just four things that I can remember, but it was things like that. They all had to do with.
But the fact of the matter is, like, you don't walk away with like the sentence now for the plea deal lying to the FBI is 1 year.
Yeah.
Right.
Which no one thinks
and,
he's going to serve that.
No, he's not going to serve that, and if he did, it would be in like white people rich man jail,
which is better. Everyone knows it.
Right. We all want a room. But it is better, and everybody does know it.
It is better. Yeah, that was a joke, but not really. Like,
right. So
that's the only thing where I think there might be a kernel of truth to this thing is that he did do a plea deal, and that means that you don't do a plea
means
deal
they want
if you
something.
don't have if you don't have a song to sing, they don't hire you to sing it. So I kind of get
in the last episode we reported that that shortly before this. I guess when did we record the last episode? Is the last Monday, right before the Monday before Flynn came out and
I don't think it was
did
Monday.
the thing.
It was like Saturday.
Maybe it was. I
Thanksgiving
don't know.
weekend, yo.
But I know that. Oh yeah, duh, stupid. But we talked about how
Fake news.
How my right. You heard it here first, and it was bullshit. We talked about how Mike Flynn had cut off communication with the Trump administration.
So we knew something was coming.
You don't do that, I don't think, unless you have a story to tell either.
Well, no, that's standard procedure whenever you're no longer talking to the party of interest, which is the Trump campaign. That is supposed to be the focus of the Mueller investigation for collusion with the Russians. It seems to not
obstruction of justice. The Mueller thing, Mueller was only brought in because of obstruction of justice. He was given the Russian investigation to go into, but that is not why Mueller came in. And we've had this conversation so many times, and you always you've always spun it that way, that like Mueller is only there for collusion, and that's not what they're looking for. No, Mueller's there because Comey got fired. That's obstruction of justice. That's what he's looking for. He just has access to the whole investigation.
First off, you fake newsed it because you just said it is obstruction of justice, and we've already gone in depth about how
he's
the president...
there to look for obstruction of justice.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like they said, the main reason he's there is to look for collusion with the Russian in this Russian investigation, and then the reason he was brought in was for concerns of obstruction of justice. But he's there.
Yes.
Yeah, he's there to look. If he finds that, then he finds it. But that's not why he's there. He's there to try to find this Russian collusion. And
what I'm telling you though is, if Comey still has a job, there's none of this.
Yeah, but Comey was a twat.
Yeah, Comey was a twat, but guess who wasn't being investigated for obstruction of justice?
Right.
Say whatever you want, but Donald Trump is suffering the repercussions of firing James Comey right now.
Well, so again, that to me, that's something for the looking glass. I mean, that's going to be something that in 4 or 5 years from now we can look back on and say, was firing Comey a good idea or a bad idea? And it's really
I think we can look at it now.
It depends on how this pans out. If it takes Donald Trump down and he has to be impeached, then that's a bad fucking move by him. But if it
depending. Well, right.
But if it blue balls everyone for 2 years and they get nothing, and after spending millions of dollars to really try to find dirt, and they come up empty-handed, then it could work for his benefit, because then going into the elections, they're going to say, "Look at this, you were so wrong. You couldn't, So we don't know how it's going to play out yet. Right now, it doesn't look like it was beneficial for him, but they also haven't found anything yet. So again, we'll have to see how it goes down.
Again, we don't know what they found, but we know that indictments are starting to come now.
I think there's still 2 more that are undisclosed. Two more undisclosed indictments. I'm thinking one of those is Jared Kushner.
I'm thinking one of those is Jared Kushner, and I
write that on the board. We're both on it.
And I bet the other one is Carter Page. That is my guess. So,
I don't have a guess for the other one, so you can write that on.
If that happens, then that means the first 7 people that we talked about in this investigation have now been indicted and charged. So it looks like a lot of smoke and mirrors to me, but literally everyone in order that their name got brought up. You remember 10 months ago when you were all like, "Oh, Carter Page," that was your punchline. We'll see what happens.
Don't blow your load yet. He hasn't named any Carter Page yet. But
no, he hasn't. But what I'm telling you is that I said the same thing about Manafort. I said the same thing about Flynn. You said the same
we
thing
both
about
said
Flynn.
the same thing about Manafort and Flynn. Back during when the campaign was still going on, the day that shit happened, we were like, he's gone in a month.
No, I agree with you. I'm saying, though, that in the order that these people's names came into the news, they have now been indicted, with the exception of Robert Gates, who I didn't know about until the Manafort thing.
Well, yeah,
happened, or Richard Gates, whatever his name is.
He was
I think I've
connected to Manafort.
I think I've messed up his name on both episodes that I've said it. It's Richard Gates, not Robert Gates.
Robert Gates is a historical name. It sticks in everyone's head.
Isn't Robert Gates? Wasn't Robert Gates one of a press secretary recently?
A press yes. There was
for
a Gates.
Obama.
There was a Gates, and I can't remember what his first name was.
I don't know. Maybe
before,
Gates.
it was before.
If I don't know your last name, I'm going to
Harvey.
assume it's Gates. Let's just say that moving forward. So.
But I don't. When it comes down to it, I still think. Go ahead.
I don't think this looks good for the Donald Trump, and I think they should be sweating, and I'll tell you why.
I don't think so
because
at all.
Anybody that was interviewed by the FBI should be sweating. The FBI doesn't. Because they absolutely lied. They lied. We all know they fucking lied. And
they should have pulled I don't remember. That's a safe bet.
I don't even know I don't know the questions, but I know that the answers were bullshit, because I've seen this play out now for fucking 11 months, and I'm pretty sure the answers were bullshit. And what I'm telling you is that the FBI doesn't ask questions that they don't have the answers to.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, if that's all they got, though, there's nothing to worry about. A year at most in white person prison, which no one's gonna fucking serve.
For Michael Flynn, but
for anyone, that's what they're charging him with.
If they can prove that James Comey was firing was obstruction of justice, if they can prove that, that's a huge problem, and it may not be. It may fall under some bullshit. Sean Hannity wrote your definition of collusion 6 months before this fucking presidency, so that's the legal term for collusion. But we know what collusion really is. We've all seen The League. We know what it is.
Pretty sure Sean Hannity didn't write that. I'm pretty sure that was, U.S. statute. But
I'm pretty sure that Sean Hannity creamed over it, and it was written for Sean Hannity. So because some legal bullshit term of treason, you have to be at war, and you have to shut up. Treason is treason. You don't have to have it explained.
That's what
you know
it
what
is.
The fuck it is.
No, if it's one thing I've learned, the general public.
I'm getting so sick.
The general public does not know what most of these terms mean. So just saying trust me, everyone knows it. No, they don't. There's a reason why we have court of laws, and that there's actual definitions. So again, we're going to see.
But the courts are bullshit, aren't they? Ask Donald Trump. The courts are bullshit.
Yeah, well, don't ask Donald Trump, because he's going to say something fucking stupid. But
He'll probably fucking tweet it.
Yeah, the actual answer is the courts aren't stupid per se. They can make stupid decisions, but at the same time, treason does apply in only a very certain aspect. You're not going to get treason. You're not going to get collusion. You might get obstruction of justice. We'll see. Yeah. I don't think so. Again,
that's where I think the most realistic thing is. Like, I don't think that they will get collusion. Yeah. I know they won't get treason. Treason's stupid. That's dumb.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
That just will not happen.
I don't think they're looking for treason because that would be stupid to look for treason.
Yeah, he's a lawyer and he knows the definition. But again, with
but apparently lawyers don't know the difference between pled and pleaded, right? Because now they're typing Donald Trump's Twitter or tweets after telling him for months to get the fuck off
bullshit.
Twitter. That was Frank's point, and so just to credit him, and fuck that. Donald Trump's lawyer didn't write that fucking tweet.
No, not at all. We're gonna get into all that shit later. But going back to Michael Flynn. And
let's just leave the audience in suspense. For anybody that doesn't know how that,
dangle it in front of their
away.
face. But, but yeah, this I think is another one of those situations where the facts that we're looking at don't meet the narrative, and so they just say fuck the facts and they go with this narrative. Michael Flynn is flipping on Trump, where the real facts seem to be Michael Flynn is upset that he's being called a traitor. He has mounting legal bills.
That's fine, but again, that's you focusing on the media's coverage of it. And what I'm telling you is that
I'm looking at the facts of it. The media didn't cover the facts. We did. So there's the difference. We can look at it and go, okay, this is what he's actually said. It looks like he did lie to the FBI, which they are reporting, and that's good. But he's also saying there is no criminality that I know of at all. I haven't done anything. This is what he told me to talk to Russia about. And again, I don't think it's going to amount to anything because that's fucking nothing. But you can sit there and say, oh, well, no, trust me, it definitely is. It's like, well, no, look at the details. It isn't. So,
and we'll see. I mean, the two indictments that are yet to come, at least so far, are obviously going to.
We don't know anything about those. Yeah, so we're going to see where that goes.
So. Yeah, those are
Jared
their own
Kushner's
puzzle
in the crosshairs. We'll see what happens with that dude. We've talked about just by ourselves how I thought Jared Kushner was just on his way out by himself, simply
because
due
he's
to the
a
fact
dick.
that
like no one likes him.
He's a Democrat, and he's literally gotten into fights with every single person in the staff to where they've had to quit because they're like, I fucking hate Jared Kushner and I won't be in the same room with him. So he's lost a bunch of this loyalist due to the fact that, the guy's married to his daughter. I got it. He won you Wisconsin. That's very good. You needed that. But you don't really need this guy anymore. Get him out of here.
Right.
He's not going anywhere.
Well,
You're going to see him at Christmas.
I mean, right. No, I know. And what's funny, too, is I don't know what the hang-up is. I mean, I get it's family, but, dude, you fired 98% of your administration already. It's like, let it go. It's fine. One more pin to fall isn't going to break your back. It might destroy the country, but, whatever.
So we'll see. Again, I still think when you look at the details and you go away from the headlines that are telling you that there's fire and that this is the smoke, here's another smoke, and there seems to be a recurring theme where they just kind of skirt on the details, give you a nice headline that makes it look like there's totally collusion going on, and then when you look into it, you go, well, that doesn't seem like very much, and they go, well, you're just making excuses. No, I'm reading the details, and those don't seem to be illegal, so I don't see any illegal activity.
Again, we need to know at least where we are right now on Mike Flynn. We need to know what's coming. Like, we need to know what he's going to say.
He did get a plea deal, so that is the only kernel that I'm giving any of these people that are claiming that this is what's going on. Like, that's the one piece that makes me reserve myself from saying it's 100% bullshit, because I don't know. I sound like I know. I don't. And
you sound like you think you know. That's for sure.
I certainly think I know, but I'm going to be honest and say I don't fucking know. And so that's the one thing that's making me a little reserved and going, I really don't know if it is going to come down. And, most of these people, there was another, the Democratic Florida congresswoman who's carted off to 5 years in jail today. I'm sure she didn't think that was going to fucking happen. So you never know. Shit can fucking happen. But regardless, I don't think that this is anything. Does it lead to anything else? We'll see.
Right. I don't know. All I know is Democrats are sitting over there hoping that this is a snowball at the top of the hill. Like,
I know they are.
To look a lot like Christmas.
On the first day of Christmas, Miller gave to me. I'm just like, you don't know what you're talking about. But
right.
It's been fun. It's
all
a
right.
fun ride watching these guys just like dry hump this wish. Oh, God, give it to me. And they just don't get it.
I don't think it's that far of a reach. I just know that, like, there are some things that we won't convince each other of until the whole story is there.
All right.
So
Well, when you medically die of blue balls, then don't look to me, because I was telling you guys not to hold your load so long.
that's all right. And when a year's worth of content blows up in your face, I don't know, man. I was just here fucking pushing the buttons. So
Yep.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Today. And Hoda's here with me this morning because this is a sad morning here at Today and at NBC News. Just moments ago, NBC News Chairman Andy Lack sent the following note to our organization. Dear colleagues, on Monday night, we received a detailed complaint from a colleague about inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace by Matt Lauer. It represented, after serious review, a clear violation of our company's standards. As a result, we have decided to terminate his employment. While it is the first complaint about his behavior in the over 20 years he has been at NBC News, we were also presented with reason to believe this may not have been an isolated incident. Our highest priority is to create a workplace environment where everyone feels safe and protected, and to ensure that any actions that run counter to our core values are met with consequences, no matter who the offender. We are deeply saddened by this turn of events, but we will face it together as a news organization and do it in as transparent a manner as we can.
The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, as amended, is passed.
All right, Phil, we just heard it. Republican senators still clapping. 51 yeas, 49 nays. There were no surprises, Phil.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Look, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell usually has a pretty good idea where the members of his conference are. They were very solid about where this vote was. And again, Cyril, I just want to underscore, this is a momentous occasion for the Republican Party. This is a momentous occasion for people who have tried to change the tax code for 3 decades now. It's worth noting, both parties have tried to reform the tax code over the course of the last 3 decades.
Emotions running high during day one of the murder trial for the illegal immigrant accused of killing Kate Steinle. The 2015 shooting sparking the president's crackdown on immigration and the push for a border wall, which is about to reach a major milestone. Kelly Wright is here now with the new developments. Good morning, Kelly.
Jillian, good morning to you as well. The trial opened with deep feelings of sadness as Kate Steinle's father gave dramatic testimony about his daughter's last day. The emotion in Jim Steinle's voice was palpable throughout the courtroom as he spoke fondly about the close relationship he shared with his daughter.
U.S. President Donald Trump tweeted against UK Prime Minister Theresa May after she condemned his retweet of anti-Muslim videos. U.S. President Donald Trump put out a tweet asking Theresa May, and I'm quoting him here, to focus on destructive radical Islamic terrorism that is taking place within the United Kingdom, unquote. Trump earlier tagged a wrong account of the UK Prime Minister, but he deleted that tweet shortly after. Donald Trump's tweet against May comes after the UK Prime Minister's spokesperson condemned Trump's retweeting of an anti-Islam videos. One of the videos was by a minor anti-Islam party based in the UK called Britain First. There were calls in the United Kingdom to cancel his upcoming visit as well, but no such decision has been taken so far.
Get to this Fox News alert because we do have some serious news here to report. President Trump now throwing his full support behind Alabama GOP Senate candidate Roy Moore ahead of next Tuesday's special election. The president tweeting, quote, Democrats' refusal to give even one vote for massive tax cuts is why we need Republican Roy Moore to win in Alabama. We need his vote on stopping crime, illegal immigration, border wall, military, pro-life, VA, judges' Second Amendment, and more. No to Jones, a Pelosi-Schumer puppet. The president's endorsement comes as Moore faces numerous allegations of sexual misconduct from decades ago.
All right. The rest of the week this week is sponsored in part by the pedophile of the week. Actually, not pedophile. I get so caught up. Like sometimes I have these thoughts and I wake up in Alabama. It's just,
right.
I don't know what happens.
It's brought to you by the sex offender of the week.
Sex offender of the week, Matt Lauer. Was that Monday morning? That was kind of shocking.
Yeah, a lot of people were shocked by it. I kind of wasn't, to be honest. We'll say what
I'm not
what happened.
shocked. I'm not shocked by any of this anymore.
No.
But apparently, and these details are pretty gruesome. So if for some reason you're a bad parent and you're listening to our podcast with your children in the car.
Yeah, don't do that.
This might be the spot where you actually do want to turn it down, because if fuck and dick jokes aren't enough for you, we're about to get gross. But so the details of it. So first of all, let's set the scene. I've played the soundbite already, but I think it was Monday morning. And I don't have the bite in front of me, but it was early in the week that Savannah Guthrie came on the Today Show without Matt Lauer and announced to the world that he had been fired. And at the time when it was reported, obviously, you know what's crazy, and you actually shut up. I wanted you to let it go so bad.
Nope.
But what's interesting about what we saw and heard from Savannah Guthrie is just like, it's got to be weird for these people when these stories come out and they're actually friends of the person that, like, you know,
how long have they been working together?
Weinstein
Like 20 years or something?
20 years or something like that. And you could tell the way she read it and the way she talked about it as she was announcing it that, like, she was upset. They were all, and then it switched to Al Roker. And, like, you could just tell, like, these people are friends. They've worked together for a long time.
I'm sure they go to, like, you know, parties together and all sorts of stuff.
Right.
Maybe masturbate in front of each other. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Sometimes people ask. Sometimes they don't. Just whip it out. But in this case,
terrible.
So she announces that he's no longer working, and at the time they say NBC released a statement saying that I don't know if they said female, but we know it was now.
Right.
But said that somebody who had worked with him had come to HR or whatever about an inappropriate instance. They didn't elaborate on it at all, and they went a little bit too far, and they said that this was the only known instance in Matt Lauer's history, but they had reason to believe that there might be a pattern, which I don't know
any
why,
fucking sense to me.
No, I don't know why they decided to term it that way, because they did the right thing.
Yeah.
They did the right thing by firing him, and they did the right thing by being the ones to announce it and to talk about it on their show and to own up to it and to, like, you know, this is an unfortunate aspect of something that happened in our company. That was all good. That was the only sentence of the statement that I can criticize now, because within 24 hours of that coming out, 3 women went to Variety magazine and told pretty disturbing stories.
Yep.
One of them being, and this is the part where we need to get turned down. Warnings. I have children now, so I care about these things. But so one of the accounts that was given was that Matt Lauer either sent or gave a female coworker a vibrator as a gift or whatever, with a note describing how he wanted to use it on her or something along those lines.
Right.
So that's pretty okay.
It's already a bold move. I mean, you don't know how to play that one. Maybe they don't want the fucking vibrator. So not something you typically lead with, but okay.
No. And I think too that I think the first story, the accusation that was made to HR was somebody that worked with him in Sochi in the
2014.
In the Olympics. But we never really got details on that one. We just know something inappropriate happened.
I thought that she said that he groped
was she
her.
Invited to his? Is that what happened?
That's what I thought.
She invited him to, or he invited her to his hotel room. So there was that instance, I guess, which was the initial thing. Then there's this story about the sex toy, and then the next story is of one of his coworkers or interns or something was called into his office, and he just, like, whipped his dick out, and she
fucking
was
LBJ.
like,
LBJ did.
No, nah, dude, not cool. And then he started berating her for not doing something about it. That's pretty fucked up. And now for the most fucked up, where apparently, which I think this is probably going to be a hard sell to the maintenance man, Matt Lauer has fucking security button type dealy under his desk to lock his doors, just to make sure nobody's walking in while he's getting his rape on. And the third accusation is that a female was obviously somebody that was a
female,
not a mentor,
that
I guess a
obvious.
prospect. No, like an like somebody who was obviously lower on the scale, not equivalent in the company, was called into his office. The door was locked. He told her she was wearing a skirt or something, and she picked up a stack of papers, and he told her how good her ass looked or something like that, and then he walked over behind her, slid up her skirt, and raped her until she passed out from fear. And then when she came to, he was getting the company whatever, a secretary to call a nurse or something like that, or got a company nurse to come take it. That's fucked up.
I didn't hear that one. Damn.
Yeah, these are bad accusations.
That's a bad one.
And they're all bad. They're all bad.
Well, the vibrator one I could kind of see, if you're flirting with someone and then you want to make a bold move. It's not the play I would make, but I could see that. That, no, the last one.
If you're flirting with somebody, but dude, in every, I have a huge problem with the last few times that we've talked about this, you have to take into account when you talk about it, when you talk about Louis C.K. and when you talk about stuff like this, you and I don't rape people, so we're thinking about it in terms of hey, we're flirting and right. But in these instances, in all of these instances, this is very unwanted, and in a lot of these instances, it's very known to the person who's committing the act that it is not wanted by the by the victim.
Well, to be fair and to play devil's advocate here, a lot of the times when these people have accusations put at them, they say that they didn't know it was unwanted. They thought that it was wanted. Now, a lot of that's bullshit. I say again,
right? That's but that's Trump not knowing that Flynn fucking was calling the Russians. I'm calling bullshit a little bit.
He told them they call the Russians, but no.
Roy Moore can't walk back the fact that he said that he asked mother's permission to date his girlfriend.
Yeah, that's weird.
You can't walk that back. You fucking said that.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. But again, like I said, when it comes to the Matt Lauer stuff, I don't know. I need to know more details about those initial ones, because it could be a case of the girl takes it wrongly. You make a lewd joke, you make an advancement, and it goes wrong.
Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry, but I can't play devil's advocate on this type of stuff.
See, to me, it's not playing devil's advocate, because we hear about those things all the time where people take things wrong and then they say, well, that's sexual harassment.
Yeah, we hear a lot of people like Brock Turner saying that they didn't do anything wrong.
That's different. He drug someone by a dumpster and then raped them. Again, and then when it comes to this Matt Lauer thing, yeah, it sounds like if he locked his doors and then raped someone till they passed out with fear, that's pretty cut and dry. That's not unwanted attention or anything like that.
Yeah, but even so, how do you can't write off the fact that he calls somebody into his office and here's my dick. What are you gonna do with it? And then berates them. Right. No, it's not. I don't know. I just think what's unfortunate is we joked earlier, before, a while ago, that we could make this a fucking segment, the sexual the sexual harasser of the week.
There's a new one.
And I do fear that this could get us into an area that we don't want to get into, because we're seeing this a lot now. And I do think that there is going to be a time where there is overreach, where because you already
there's already
see
been
it
a couple
with,
of them, where they've come out and said I can't remember what the guy's name was, but he got accused of rape, and he was like, I'm going to take a lie detector test, and he passed it, and was like, all this is bullshit, but he still got fired. And I've been hearing that a lot too, is that a lot of people, while they are very sympathetic to the accusers, still want some form of due process. It seems like, and I kind of go the other way. When it comes to employment, I think that if there's accusations of rape, you just let the person go to begin with. I feel like that's the right thing to do. But I also do think that...
Yeah, from the beginning. And we've seen that before. We saw that last year, kind of in a different... in sports, we saw it. Not with the NFL, but with the NHL. Chicago Blackhawks player was accused of...
Kane?
Patrick Kane was accused of rape in the offseason leading into, I think it was last season, it might have been the season before, but he was supposed to be on the cover of EA Sports game. And as soon as the accusation was made, they were like, nope, we don't want to touch it. Like, the accusation, and that's the way you handle that
now,
shit.
Nothing happened to him. He's on my fantasy roster. He didn't go anywhere. But
right. So lucky for you, and lucky for everybody. But he also didn't do it. Like there was substantial reason to believe that even as a Blues fan, I'm going to tell you this Blackhawks player is not a raper.
He doesn't fucking say "Let's go Blues." You don't say LGBT.
Shut up.
We all know it.
So anyway, I just think that. I think that there is the potential for this shit to get overreach. And what I don't want to see is a scenario where we see all the time, we'll be watching just regular programming on television and you'll have the commercial that's like, did you ever take a pill? Did it maybe give you man titties? Or did you maybe get fat? Either way, sue these guys.
Right,
like,
sue these
I don't
guys.
I don't want to see that where it's like, hey, did because I gave you guys the example off the show when we were all here together last week that like, so is there, what I don't want to see is a point where we walk down the stairs to get set up to record and I bump into you and you sue me for sexual harassment
shouldn't
or
be such
something
a raper.
like that. Because it was unwanted or something. I don't want to see ridiculous shit like that.
We see arguments like that where they say, I saw that online earlier when someone was like, listen, I've regretted entire relationships. Doesn't mean I was raped. And then people were trying to convince them, no, if you've regretted it, no matter how much time has passed, you were raped. And it's like, dude, no, like I've regretted all sorts of shit in my life.
Right. But those are extreme cases too. Like that's not the majority.
That's not the majority think, thank God. But again, there are people that do think that. And I do think that there is a little bit of a trend now too where people are presumed, at least in this instance, people are presumed guilty before we really know a lot of facts. Like someone will be accused, and I do think that they should be fired, but I don't think that they should be presumed guilty. I think they should be either fired or have a leave of absence while it's investigated, and then the law should just do its fucking job and go into it and see, are these credible claims? Are they not credible claims? And then go from that point.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, and I said it the last time that we talked about this, which feels like it was probably the last episode.
It was. We talked about it for the past like 4.
I mean, I'm pretty sure this is like the 4th episode in a row that we're talking about.
Put that on the board. We put that one on there too. We said, hey, you know what? Weinstein's not going to be the end of it. It's going to keep on going.
No. Oh no, Weinstein was the start of it. Like Weinstein,
floodgates open, man. Levees are broken, and then shit just went glacial.
And I can tell you right now, and I think you would agree with me, that this is not anywhere close to done. Like, this is going to continue to happen.
I think that it's going to wane. I really do. I know more is going to come out. I think that's kind of it. I really do.
I don't.
I feel like we're not going to hear a lot of it going from this point forward. At least that's what my gut's telling me. Well,
nah, I disagree with you. I don't think this is going to stop for a while. Because you consider that like the majority of things that have come out so far aren't recent stories. These are stories that have been held
15
for
years,
40 years,
10 years,
30
however
years,
long it is.
Right. So how many more people existed over
that
span
great
of time?
purge has to happen, and then it has to wane. At that point, the people who have got something to say are probably going to come out and say it. There's still people that aren't coming out, and they have every right not to come out. They can come out when they damn well please. However, I think that, that's probably going to be Matt Lauer, for whatever reason, to me, seems like a punctuation mark. It seems like an ending. Not really an ending, but more of a, here's the next paragraph. There's going to be more to it. but we'll kind of see where it goes from here. Obviously, more people are going to come out, but I don't think it's going to be every week like it has been since Weinstein. Or at times multiple people in 1 week.
Yeah.
Charlie Rose, a bunch of other people.
Here's the other interesting thing, and obviously
everyone at NPR apparently. There's like 3 people that have been fired now from NPR's senior staff.
Yeah. We have to address it, too, because, it's part of this story is the fact that everybody in the media has been at least somewhat held accountable. Like, whether it's Hollywood or whatever, like, they not held accountable as in punished, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, you would.
I am dying. I should not have done this tonight, but but they've been punished in some way. Like the news personalities have been let go. Bill O'Reilly's gone. Charlie Rose is gone. Matt Lauer's gone. The Hollywood actors, their deals have been dropped. People are reshooting movies. Nobody's on Netflix anymore.
They're gonna do season 6 of House of Cards without Kevin Spacey, and let me just be the first to say, it's gonna suck. I mean, everyone's online being like, dude, it's just not gonna be good. Like, say whatever you want about Kevin Spacey.
Right, he fell down an elevator shaft. Moving on.
He's dead, so going on. And for people, I'm not going to do any spoilers. For people who have watched House of Cards and have made it to the end, it makes perfect sense for them to go in a different direction. However, that show's just going to suck if he's not on it, and he's not going to be on it. It's going to be the final season. So, I mean, obviously there's consequences. We'll see if which people, except for 2 people. Who was it? It was George Takei, and there was another guy that people just didn't care about. Apparently, Danny Masterson has just avoided any type of.
Yeah, I just heard this. Frank was actually telling me that
he's been charged. That's an old like. I think it was like a couple different. There was like at least 2 or 3 rape charges over the span of like 5 years. And yeah, it just kind of got. Brushed.
Do you know any of the details of those?
No, I heard. I mean, I would have known them whenever I'd heard it. It's an old story, but for a lot of these old stories that we all knew about and now are coming to light and being viewed as credible, he's kind of avoided it. So I don't know what. I don't know. That's another one that seems to get away.
The other thing, the point of me bringing that aspect of it up though was that like every congressman has avoided it, or every politician has avoided it. Conyers. At least until within the last couple of days.
He's in the hospital now. So
right. But Conyers, didn't step down. And for a while, the Democrats were at his side for a couple of days. And Al Franken hasn't stepped down.
He's not going to step down.
No, he came out and was like, the first step to the road to recovery is continuing to work. Okay. And
it's like Weinstein, I'm going after Trump. I'll see you later.
Right, and the Roy Moore is still running. Donald Trump is still president.
Still winning.
You've seen the meme. Yeah. It's just
it comes down to, and again,
I think it comes down to instant ratings is what it comes down to.
I don't think so. I think it comes down to voting for your interest, and I really do. I think that Democrats have an interest. People of Minnesota are mostly Democratic.
No. That's not. We're not talking about voting though. Like Conyers and Franken. And Trump currently hold office.
Right.
So we're not talking about
But if they were
voting.
to be ousted, there would be an election. They would have to have someone voted in.
Right. But I think that because I think that that people should be calling for Conyers to step down. I think that they're not, or that they are calling, but he's not going to step down.
No.
And the reason he's not going to step down is because there's not a fucking election. So unless somebody forces him to do it, it's not like Hollywood where people can stop watching Netflix, or they can stop, we're not going to watch Netflix because Kevin Spacey is making tons of money off of it. Like, that hurts the business. So I think that plays into it more than voting for your interest. I get that when you made the argument about Roy Moore. I still think there's a point where you put country and morals above party, which Republicans aren't doing in Alabama, and Republicans didn't do with Donald Trump. But Democrats didn't do it with fucking Hillary Clinton. So,
Or without, and again, like I said, they tend to, it doesn't matter who it is. Again, the defining characteristic of who gets voted for who is, does this guy have my best interest at heart? And when it comes to someone like Al Franken, as long as you're not a USO chick that's passed out in an airplane, and you're a Democrat, you might think he has your best interest at heart. So you're going to fight for that guy. And
but yes, I agree with you, and I think your point is valid in the sense of when there's an election. But I disagree with you when you make the point about Al Franken, because they could force. They're calling for him to step down now, and they're calling for Conyers to step down now. Listen,
someone has to be elected.
No, it's not right. But if Minnesota wants a Democrat and always picks a Democrat, they will do it again.
Yeah, but it might sway this other time. You don't know what's going to happen. It might be very effective, like, oh, this guy running had ties to Franken or whatever it is. Right now, they've got a D in the Senate from Minnesota. They can bank on that. They know what his politics are. They know that he will help them in their own minds. That's what they're going to go with. They don't want to lose it.
I honestly don't think they're considering that.
I think it's all they're considering, because Congress is razor-thin margins right now.
They're calling for him. They're calling for him to step down right now. So, like, I don't think they're
doing an
considering
investigation,
that at all.
but they're not gonna make.
But Congress, he's not gonna step down. Conyers isn't gonna step down. Trump obviously,
I think that he will. He's
so.
got sent to the hospital. He's like 82 fucking years old or something. Like, he's gonna step down, I think. Just because he's old, he's going to have to. He's going to be like, whatever, I'll retire.
I don't know. People said that about John McCain 2 months ago, too. And
apparently this dude, it's just, I don't know. I don't even get it. But, yeah.
I don't know, but he passed your tax plan. So go into that.
That's good. That's a good thing. Good job, McCain.
You want to go with that one?
What? Passing the tax plan? Yeah, we can go into that one. So the other... possibly the biggest story in actual real news that happened this week is the fact that the Senate...
Oh, yeah. The whole rest of the show was bullshit news.
I'm just going to say...
It is.
I'm just saying, one of these things...
That's fine.
One of these things is like seeing a rare fucking albino unicorn that's, I don't know, dancing a jig. The Senate got off its ass.
So is colluding with foreign entities to win an election.
Yeah, we already went through that one. But no, the Senate got off its ass and actually did something and passed a tax reform bill, which was pretty amazing. I was watching it. It was another one of these late night fucking 2:00 in the morning, I think it was, that they passed it. I was watching it all night. There was a 20-hour mandatory debate over it, which, to be honest, I think we probably could have served better for like 50 hours worth of debate, because there were some good points that were brought up on.
So that they could have read it, you mean?
Yeah, because that was the other big controversy when it came to them passing the bill. They basically printed it off and was like, all right, we're voting on this in an hour. And of course it's, 400 plus pages or however fucking long it is. And it was impossible to read.
I thought it was supposed to be on a postcard. What the fuck?
That'll be your taxes when it's to you, but all the rest of the code and all the allocations and all the earmarks and everything else that they have to wheedle into it takes a little bit longer than a postcard. But yeah, apparently our taxes are going to be very easy to fill out. We'll see. I'll be buying the TurboTax, so we'll see how it pans out. But yeah, so
TurboTax does not sponsor the show.
But they can. Give us your money.
But they can. Give us your money.
So this happened. This plan is different than the House bill that was passed. A couple different key things to it. A was the inclusion. They originally were not going to include the SALT provision, which is the state and local tax. They decided to include that up to $10,000 worth of write-off. So that's going to help people in high tax states such as California, New York, and Illinois. So the other things that they added into it, oh man, I can't remember everything that they added into it, but it's slightly different than the House version. So even though they passed this now, it's not finished. It has to go back to the House. Just today, Paul Ryan came out and said that they've approved the committee. They're sending it to, I think, an 8 representative panel between the House and the Senate. They're going to iron out their details. There's only 8 points of contingency that they are trying to work through. They're very confident they're going to work through it, and we should have it then a final version that the House will pass, send up to the Senate. The Senate will pass it. boom, send it back up to Donald Trump, and we should have this law.
And you said it does repeal the mandate, right?
It does. The Senate version. The House version doesn't, which is odd. Because you would think that the House version, where they have a larger majority, would be able to pass that much easier than the Senate. So I think it bodes well.
They don't want to.
Maybe they don't.
I mean, there are a lot of Republicans. We've talked about it before on the show that don't think ending the mandate is good.
Well, yeah, because they live in District 2 of New York or California or something where most of their people like it. So, yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I think that it has a very good chance of making it into the final legislation. I would say so. We'll see. But we're on the final stretch now. I think that this thing is an inevitability. It is going to pass. Write the check, take it to the bank. You're getting tax reform, not for this next tax season, but for the one after. And I don't know if it's necessarily 100% a good thing, even though I've talked at length about why I think that it is. I think that there's a lot of things that could possibly have been improved. I don't think that having that timeline set at December 31st or whatever it was, like we need to have it done before Christmas, whatever they want, really serves the American people. And this is a big piece of legislation. Again, we haven't done this since the 80s. So, I feel like we need to get it right. It probably would have been just fine passed in February, March, April, May, whatever. It's not going to take effect for a year anyway. But
you know why they rushed it.
Because they fucked up Obamacare, so they have to.
Because they fucked up Obamacare, and they needed to pass something. They have to pass something.
Even still, if you pass it by March or April, that's whenever the midterms are really going to start getting into it. So it almost would give you more momentum.
Yeah, it's the same. The Republicans in Congress, this Congress anyway, I won't speak for all Republicans, but the Republicans in this Congress have the same mentality that the 38% of Trump's base has, which is we need to win. So we're going to do whatever the fuck we can to win, no matter what that actually means.
No, I think it means something pretty decent.
And I think when you rush shit in the middle of the night, I don't disagree with you. I think that it's not totally a bad idea to pass something like this, but I think that where shit gets fucked up is when you've got a group of people that are so worried about that deadline that they have to pass it now so that they aren't, because in your reasonable scenario where they actually sit down and let people read the fucking bill and actually write out a good decent bill, which again, we're not saying that this is a horrible bill. All we're saying
I
is
think it's a very good bill.
Like, it could be improved.
There's weird things in it.
What they do in your scenario is they end up in March or April, right? And that's 6 months before they're running for re-election. That's why this is being rushed right now, is because they don't want that. And I
think
is
stupid.
Is dumb. Yeah.
I should be a fucking political strategist because I would make everybody win all the time. You've heard it here first. Hire me. No, but the whole point.
I think that just brought your batting average down.
No, it brought it up. But the whole point is, I get that it's a risk if you run it in March, April, May, that something goes wrong, someone gets cold feet, and then even though they want to vote for it, they don't. And then you end up looking, you're going into the midterms with egg on your face. I get it. But at the same time, there's so many things that we can do to fix the little things in this legislation. I'm going to do a shout out to someone I plan on voting out of office here in the next year, Claire McCaskill, because she actually did a really good job whenever
You can't kill her. she fucking lives under a rock.
It's the fucking troll toll right there.
Right. How are you gonna stop her? Come on, she'll just
come on. The only reason she won last time was because she was against Todd Akin, who said that fucking rape just shuts that whole shit down. No, she's not going to be going against. It's like a Donald Trump scenario. He's not going against Hillary this next time. She's not going against Todd Akin.
No, she's going against Josh Hawley, who just got endorsed by the president when he was here last week.
Yeah, in St. Charles.
So yeah, he's not gonna. I don't think she'll win either.
No, I don't at all. No, I don't hate Claire McCaskill. I think she's way too cautious of a politician.
I'm not going to vote for anybody that Trump endorses, though. I'll be honest with you.
I'm fine with it.
And I'm not gonna vote for anybody that endorses Trump equally. So
all right, well, you can do. That's your right. That's the whole point of it. So you can do that. But she came out and basically was calling out one thing that was wheedled into the bill, which, what did they say it does? Basically, like if you're a college and you decide to not allow your enrolled students to take federal funds, then in the eyes of the bill, you are not misusing federal money, which is debatable to begin with. And so to benefit you, you will not be taxed on your endowments. So basically what that means is if Claire McCaskill came out and said, hey, so what about this college here in this state? He was like, yeah, what about it? He was like, do you know who owns it? He was like, well, Betty DeVos does. And she was like, do you know who the biggest endowment donator was? He was like, oh, I have no idea. Well, it was Betty DeVos again. So basically what that means is that Betty DeVos then can donate money to her own college, which she can write off as a tax write-off for giving that to as a donation, and then not get taxed on it for receiving it if she doesn't allow her students or the people in that school to take federal money, essentially keeping people with lower incomes out of the schools and then rewarding everyone else involved in it. It's pretty fucking shady. Like it's a bad fucking thing to be added into it. Now, do I still think, does the bill still got my support? Yeah, of course it does. It helps a fuck ton of people. That's fucked up, but the rest of it's pretty damn good, so I'm going to go ahead and support it. But things like that needed to be, I had no fucking clue. And if I didn't turn on C-SPAN 2 at fucking 9 o'clock on Friday night, I wouldn't have known that. You know what I mean? Like, it needs to be one of those things that it needed to have, and we saw this with Obamacare, where they just fucking passed it. You know, with
it's one of those like pass it first, read it later.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi, we have to pass it before we can find out what's in it. One of those things, and that didn't fucking work the last time. So we'll see if it does this time. I'm confident that it's a good bill, that it's going to work, but again, we don't know. So,
yeah, no, we don't.
We'll see.
All right, moving on into one of the more controversial stories of the week. We all remember the Kate Steinle story, which was was she a college student, or did it not even go that far? She was just somebody in California.
I don't remember.
That was like walking on a pier or something like that, and an illegal immigrant was charged in her murder because I guess he found a gun, and the charge being brought against him was murder in the first degree, that he sought her out while she was just walking down the pier and shot her. It was said that he found the gun in a trash can, and I think what I read was that the gun had been reported stolen from, like, I don't know if it was the Parks Department or like some law, like somebody in the law. So I don't know, like some official.
I'm a lawman.
Law and order. It was taken allegedly out of like a police vehicle, or I don't know if it's Parks and Rec or something like that. Stolen, and then found in a trash can was his story, and the defense's story was that the gun, I guess the gun dropped or something. What do you know?
I heard that he just kind of dumped out the contents of the bag. Didn't know it was in it. Do what most people would do. You know, when you're dumping out a bag, you turn it over. Dump it out. He dumps it out. The gun falls onto the concrete, goes off. The bullet ricochets off of the concrete, striking this woman in the back, killing her.
Is there, like, does that not seem a little far-fetched?
No, not really. If you know bullet trajectories, that can fucking happen. Ricochet.
Okay.
You know.
I don't know stuff like that. So would you be able to tell if it actually ricocheted?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So theoretically, and I haven't seen any of the details that came from this, but theoretically, is there evidence showing that there's a mark on the ground where it would
absolutely.
Ricochet
The
from?
bullet would definitely leave a mark on the ground, and ballistics would easily be able to mark the trajectory from the markings, and whatever was left, whatever divot or little hole was left from the bullet, easily could be trajectory and shown which way it was going. So
then you're saying that the defense is probably not wrong?
No, not at all. I wouldn't think so in the slightest. And that's why when it comes to this story,
this story was obviously in the news. Oh, God damn it. Now I'm thinking about it when I say it. But this story was politicized in the 2016 campaign.
It involves an illegal. Of course it's politicized.
Right.
One way or the other. Yeah, they're going to... if the guy came out and did the greatest thing in the world...
Say Trump.
I'm just saying, either person, whichever way this went, if he, jumped in front of the bullet and saved the woman, the left would have come out and been like, "Oh, illegal immigrants are needed."
This is why we need
because they're going to save people from
use
bullets.
them as bulletproof vests. Oh my God,
it's so amazing. So yeah,
right.
I mean, regardless if it has the term illegal next to it, someone's going to do it. Did you watch the DNC? Because they paraded a lot of fucking illegals on the stage. They use it as props too. So, but this was used as a prop during the RNC for Trump. He brought this case up a couple times, I thought. It basically,
so you would also assume, I know that you don't like Trump's tweets, but you would assume Trump is wrong in his reaction to this story as well.
Partially. I do think that, I guess for me, if I'm going to break this down and look at it, I think that, no, I don't think there was any malicious intent. I think that I trust the defense, I trust the evidence, and I trust the jury. That they looked at the evidence and said, hey, no, it doesn't look like this guy had any sort of malicious intent towards this woman, that this was a horrible accident, that for whatever reason the gun discharged and the bullet ricocheted. It's not like he shot her in the back or that he even pointed it and it just happened to go off. It dropped. And then the bullet bounced off the fucking concrete, of which it could go in any direction, and happened to go into the direction that killed her.
Right.
There's no murder there. I mean, involuntary manslaughter, maybe, but again,
which is surprising that he didn't get that, right?
Yeah. I mean, but it's
because that was up, like, that was on the list of charges. Like, they went for everything.
I think that has to be.
Here's a point. We should point this out too for a second, just for the Blue Lives Matter crowd. That in cases like Jason Stockley and Darren Wilson, only one charge is brought to the judge: first-degree murder. Right. Every fucking time,
because they fucking overreach it every goddamn time.
And in this case, which means that the prosecution prosecution in those instances are
dropping
fucking up. Yeah, they are. But does the prosecution know the cop? Like, that's...
Yeah, I don't know.
All I know is every fucking time that a cop gets brought up, we always have this conversation. Why, in the case of an illegal immigrant, is there, 17 charges on the fucking table? Like, he didn't get charged with any of them.
Even just by describing him, you use the term illegal. So,
right.
It does kind of preface a couple other charges here, and that's where I go. Away
I'm
from,
not saying I'm not saying that he was. I'm not saying the charges shouldn't exist for him. Yeah. What I'm saying is the charges should exist for the cops.
Yeah, it'd be nice, but again, they typically tend to go crazy, and then they try to change their fucking their what they're going for right at the end. Like, no, let's charge him with this, and the judge is like, no, dude, you spent way too long trying to argue the other way. So do I think that he should have been charged with murder or manslaughter or anything? No, I don't. Do I think that he should get out of the country? Yeah. I mean, obviously, he doesn't seem to be stopping this guy.
Well, that's its whole issue. That's its own issue. If you want to talk about where there's if you were to buy into the prosecution's to the defense's argument, and which the jury did, then the illegal term actuality of that's separate from the murder charge. So I think we can hold two ideas at the same time. Yeah, sure. The jury can hold two ideas at the same time as well. No, he is not guilty of first-degree murder. Yes, he's been deported 5 times. What the F? He shouldn't be here.
And I thought he was. I thought he had a couple felonies or something. He had. I can't remember him sounding like a great guy. I remember them saying.
No, he didn't sound like a great guy, which is why when this verdict came out, I was personally surprised. I was very surprised. But it
is what it is. You could be a douchebag who trips on something and something terrible happens, but it's not technically really your fault. You didn't set out to do it. Now, if he was out of the country,
be the president of the United States.
Yeah. If he was out of the country and wasn't in here, would this have happened? Probably not, but maybe something else happened. It sounded like the gun was left in a bag in the park. Some little kid could have got killed or something. I don't know.
Right.
We have no idea what would have happened.
If only we had some big, tall barrier at the border.
Well, that's what I'm saying. No. So with this, I think it's cut and dry, honestly. I think deport the fucker. Make sure he doesn't fucking come back in. Do whatever the fuck you have to do. 5 times is too many times. I don't know what you got to do to make sure he doesn't get in here, but make sure he doesn't. I'm down for whatever it is, because the guy doesn't sound like a fucking saint. He sounds like he needs to get out of our country. But do I think that he should have been charged with murder? No, I don't. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I based on, what we've discussed, I can't find fault with your argument there. So, I got 2 more left, and I'm going to kind of roll them into, just into one topic, which is, well, no, I guess I won't. F it. That's what changing your mind on the fly is, kids.
On the fly.
Let's talk first about Trump's bad tweet week, which most of them are
every fucking
on Twitter.
week, yeah.
But Trump, dude, fucking stop. Here's the thing. I have a huge problem with Sarah Huckabee Sanders telling me that Donald Trump is retweeting ISIS propaganda to further the conversation on immigration. And what that is a reference to, for the people that don't know, Donald Trump was accused earlier this week, rightfully so, of sharing some fucking racist-ass incorrect information on his Twitter account. He found a video of what he said was a Muslim beating up some kid in, what, do you remember what country it was?
No, but I think it was, I can't remember what the actual thing was, but it wasn't what he said it was.
No, it was a kid with, dark hair who was, beating basically jumped some kid who was on crutches. And then, obviously, there was somebody there with a cell phone that was filming it. It was tweeted by some, British right-wing organization, neo-Nazi organization.
Yeah, make London great again or something like
that. For some reason, Donald Trump
Britain
is
first.
a follower
that's the name of it.
On Twitter.
Well, his thing is make America first, and this is Britain first. So
yeah, here's the thing, though, man. When I click on "I love Palestine" page, if I see a guy with an AK-47, I probably don't click it for fear that I'll end up on a list. So, all I'm saying is the president should be smarter than me. But so he retweets that, and he I guess in that tweet it claimed that it was a Muslim beating up, but whatever country it was, I can't fucking remember. Came out and was
Australia or something.
No, I don't think it was. I don't know. It's not important. They came out and they said no. Here's what that incident was. Those were both, natural born citizens, and that is there's no religious connotation with them. Both of them were punished, and the victim wasn't punished. The 2 people involved in the recording and mugging, they were punished. And then he retweeted something else from that page, which I can't remember what it was. And then from another page, he retweeted what originated as an ISIS propaganda video, which we can talk about the irony that ISIS used a video for propaganda, and then a neo-Nazi group took that and was it's pretty much what we believe. Let's push that as our own narrative.
See, that's where I don't buy that, because we've seen that before when it came to what was the girl from France that was running.
No, they obviously don't believe the same thing, but what they're doing is they're using the same video,
right?
And spinning their own narrative on it. The fact of the matter is, what the point I'm making there is that shitty people exist in terrorist organizations. Shitty people exist in neo-Nazi organizations, and apparently they use the same Muslim-hating shit to fucking spread their message.
Yeah, again, we saw that during the French elections with Marine Le Pen, when she reposted a couple, I think they were beheadings that were ISIS propaganda, and she posted it on her Twitter and was like, this is what you need to see. This is what's happening. And they fucking went hard on her. They tried to kick her out of the election. Didn't work, but they ended up bringing her up on criminal charges because apparently it's against the law to put violent images and disseminate them on your Twitter page. So, again, it's a little bit like the same thing. It's her using that propaganda, but not really using it in the same
way,
context.
still using propaganda. And what I'm going to tell you is that that she, Marine Le Pen, and he, Donald Trump, as they are both, one holds and one was applying for very important worldly positions, that they shouldn't be dumb enough to be following terrorist organizations online, which neo-Nazis and ISIS, I think, both qualify for.
You don't have to be following them to find the videos. I mean, shit, those videos are out there. You know what I mean? You're
right.
see
Yeah.
them.
No,
you're not just
that's
following
fair.
it.
But you should know what you're retweeting.
Yeah.
As a leader of the
yeah.
world, you should know what the fuck you're retweeting.
I think Marine Le Pen knew full well what she was retweeting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I do not
think she was
that,
using it.
I don't think that Donald Trump knew. I think that he was just like, it's 6 a.m. I've got to get up and get on the treadmill. Haha, not doing that. Fuck it. I'm just gonna tweet this, and it blew up in his fucking face.
Yeah. So
as it
there's
usually
that.
does.
The the second part of the Trump tweets. Now you want to go into how his lawyer didn't fucking write that tweet?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I mean, that's it. What was the tweet? Do you remember what the tweet was?
I thought it was extremely innocent and just shit we already heard before. He said, I fired Michael Flynn because he lied to Mike Pence and he lied to the FBI. He's apologized for that. There's no collusion. I have nothing to hide.
Why?
That's it.
Okay, so then that can't be it. That can't be
that
the
is
tweet
it.
in
We
question.
just saw it, yeah.
If it is, then why is his lawyer coming out in front of it?
I have no idea. Like, again, I don't understand it. I do have no clue why this is so important to people.
Because well, it's important because they made it important. They fucking brought it up, and they said some shit that you're like, wait a minute. The guy who's been telling you to stay off Twitter tweeted for you on your behalf. Is that what I'm supposed to believe? You know that's bullshit.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's clearly bullshit. I don't think that
his liar looks like a fucking Scaramucci motherfucker. Looks crooked as shit. Like, I'm not buying that shit from any of those guys. So like I don't understand it. I don't understand why if there's nothing to the tweet or nothing suspicious about it, why the fuck would they come out and say anything and make it a thing?
Here it is. Here's the exact tweet. I had to fire General Flynn because he lied to the vice president and the FBI. He has pled guilty to those lies. It is a shame because his actions during the transition were lawful. There is nothing to hide. I think what people are upset about is that he included originally whenever he said that he fired Michael Flynn was because he lied to the vice president. Now he's saying because he lied to the FBI as well, and that's them making people go, oh, the timeline. He knew that he lied to the FBI and all this.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I think it's just a fucking super reach, and it's nothing. This is all shit that we've heard before, and
that's fine. But it's another evident lie from the administration, who should be trying to gain credibility, especially in the midst of a year-long scandal so far.
To me, that's
not.
such an innocent
Every
tweet, though.
fucking
Like,
day they hurt their own credibility. Every fucking day.
How can you tell that that's going to hurt your credibility? That they're going to just
because
jump
they're
all
liars.
over that shit?
How does
everything
lying not hurt your credibility? Didn't we just talk about Julian Assange?
Fine. Everything in that statement was shit that he said before, and then all of a sudden he says it again, and now it's a fucking dire thing.
No, that's not. No, I get that. That's fine. Where I'm not talking about the tweet. I agree that there's an overreaction.
That's what everyone's talking about. So yeah,
I know there's an overreaction to that. What I'm talking about, where I think the story is at, is the fact that his lawyer came out and said that, because if there's no fucking big deal here, like why are you? Why? Well, and I get it. They've made it a big deal.
I think that's a lie. I can't say definitively that it is, but again, it's dumb shit.
Frank's point, I think Frank's point was good enough that
I do not think Frank's point was good enough.
You think a lawyer typed pled, not pleaded?
That's fine. Yeah. Like, again, that adds credence to the fact that I do think that he was lying. But Frank went on to say that a lot of he lies constantly. But again, he's lying about dumb shit.
He does lie constantly.
He
absolutely lies.
Yeah, he does lie about dumb shit. But other politicians lie constantly about important shit, and no one seems to be upset about that.
That's fine, but just because no. Just because you don't think something is important doesn't make it not important.
It's not important. Like, I'm sorry, but it's not.
Okay.
Whenever he comes out and says,
and the word of Mitch has been spoken. Thank you.
Yeah, write it down. Write it on the mountains. Bring it down. Bring it on the tablets.
No, but right. I was just gonna say, engrave that shit, motherfuckers.
Right. Make that a commandment, because when he comes out and says my fucking crowds are so big, no, it doesn't fucking matter. I don't care if you think
when
it
he
does,
says
because
that,
you're wrong. It's not fucking important.
When he says that Michael Flynn didn't do anything wrong, there's a bigger lie.
It doesn't look like he did anything wrong. Other than he says he lied, which he did lie. He's acknowledging that.
He did lie. But guess what? Donald Trump knew that he lied, and he didn't say it until this week. That's a big lie.
It doesn't look like it. It looks like he's saying now that Michael Flynn lied. He's admitted to these. That's unfortunate, because everything else he did was lawful. Nothing to hide. What the fuck? I don't get it, man. I don't fucking get it.
We'll see what the plea deal brings. But what I can tell you, almost without, in fact, I'll just say it, like, without a shadow of a doubt, Trump tweeted that fucking statement. I don't think it's the worst statement in the world, but
no, I don't either.
Buy
That's
that
why,
bullshit.
I don't understand why you're lying about it, because it's not fucking a big deal. And I don't think it's.
You sound like a fucking piece of fruit, vegetable, something.
All of this is just so stupid, and like this is something that Donald Trump has a problem with in his whole tenure as president right now. Everything is just fucking stupid. Stop being fucking stupid, because you're doing a lot of good shit. Good things are happening. The economy is good. The stock markets are good. Jobs are coming back. We're passing legislation that's going to help the middle class. Things are fucking good, and everyone's talking about your bullshit tweet that's not even a big deal, and then you lie about it.
Right.
I mean, again, a lot of this has to fall in the media as well.
I told you, Trump is his own worst enemy. He makes these fucking stories, and they're fucking dumb. And
well, first off, he wouldn't have. Again, the media made the story. They're the ones who came out and started freaking out about the tweet, and then he just made it worse by shooting himself in the foot with the fucking lawyer bullshit. So both sides are being fucking stupid, but both sides need to stop being fucking stupid so we can focus on the good things that are happening. Because if we want good things to continue, you need to kind of let the people know good things are happening. Otherwise, they're going to think that bad things are happening, and we're going to go the opposite direction. So that's what. And again, a lot of that also has to do with the Republicans being fucking terrible they just kind of take for granted that the majority of the country is red, so they don't need to explain things to anyone, that people will just figure it out. Like, these guys,
the majority of the country is red geographically,
population. That's what I'm saying. And they take that for granted, going, oh well, they're already on our side, so we don't have to explain things. You do. Like, you're doing good things, go tell people about it. Don't keep sitting around and twiddling your thumbs.
That is what campaigning is. Like, that's how you get your message out. Problem is, we've created a system where we don't have to talk to each other anymore. We just go up on a camera and go, hey, we're going to do a tax plan, Paul Ryan. And then Chuck Schumer comes up and goes, I don't like it. And they don't
unfortunately, NPR did a really good article on echo chambers. And they did not only for conservatives, which tend to be in their own echo chambers, but liberals tend to be even worse about staying in their own echo chambers. So there is an uphill battle of getting your message out to where the opposite side's going to hear it and be receptive enough to where it's not skewed. There's no bias to it, to where it's, oh, this tax plan is terrible, it's going to raise taxes on the middle class. And then you have to go to the very fucking bottom of the 12 pages to see, in 10 years, after it saves you $2,000, it's going to raise it by $400. No, you dumbass. Like, you're saving $1,600. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no, I hear you.
It's frustrating, but it's an uphill battle. But I think that the Republicans have to do a better job of letting people know that we're doing good shit. If you want good shit to keep happening, vote this way and stop worrying about what the fuck Donald Trump's doing in his tweets.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with you, but he needs to stop hurting himself with it. So
yeah, he is.
And so for my last story, which I'm going to sum up in one sentence, I don't really think I need you to respond to this. Trump endorses Roy Moore fuck that. Like, I'm not going to say
we saw
much.
that happening.
Right. So that's it. That's all I got for it. That's the end of the show. Let's call it there.
Trump has done that. Yes, he has.
Like, yeah, that's dumb, and I don't need to tell you my thoughts, because I think if you don't know my thoughts on Roy Moore now, wait until the next episode. I'll probably shit on them more. So
right, that election is coming. So
right, yeah, next week actually. So
yeah, we'll cover it when it happens.
Right. So with that, I think that pretty much does it. Definitely make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or Google Play, and check us out on Facebook. We've been dropping some stuff there recently. Also, episodes are available weekly. So with that, yeah, I think that does it. Here it is, your alternative fact of the week. Thanks.
Damn right. You're exactly right. There's nothing wrong with that. And you know why? You know why we're saying that? We're saying that because if I, a guy who knows this business, if I did a tenth of what she did, I would be in jail today.